So we're going to take you on a tour of the building and tell you all about One School Today. Let's get started. So we're leaving the office and we're heading into the lobby. This is where all of our students start their day coming in the lobby here. That's also our lobby with One Church. So as we go, what we want to talk to you about is what our school is founded on and why we've shaped this school to be an innovation, faith-based school. Right? The challenge in education today is that education is still built for an industrial age. Classes with desks in rows and teachers providing lectures and everything being about test prep and memorizing what a teacher wants you to say and just spitting that back on a test. And the problem is that that's not getting our kids ready for the jobs of the future. And so we set out to say, what would it look like to create a school that was actually getting kids ready for the jobs of the future, the jobs that don't even exist yet, the jobs that demand skills that are not the skills that are being produced by a traditional sit in a desk all day and be lectured at format.
Yeah, that's right. So I'd like to take you, we can start walking this way. I'd like to take you towards our kindergarten and first grade classrooms, where we've started with this question of how could we do education differently? How could we take kids and turn them into problem solvers and real world innovators? Coming up with solutions for real world problems.
Right, and you can hear it's a busy place, right? Active learning always has lots of noise and excitement going on. That's one of the things that happens when you create a student-centered, engagement-oriented, we want students empowered to think and work and create. You're going to see a lot of activity and a lot of work in motion.
Learning is noisy sometimes.
That's right.
So you're going to see that today.
That's right. One of the other things you're going to see in this K-1 environment is that it's focused on creativity. Creativity, you may not have heard this, is the #1 job skill in demand in the future. And yet there's bodies of research that say that schools are constantly killing creativity. The older kids get, the more their creativity goes down. We know if that's the #1 job skill of the future, kids can't afford that. They can't afford to come to school and have less creativity leaving school than when they started.
That's right. The Jobs of the Future report also talks about collaboration. So one of the things that you're going to see when we walk in, one of my favorite phrases that you say Dr. Domini, is that our K-1 room is kind of designed like a co-hatch for kids.
Co-hatch for kids. You're going to see that all throughout the tour today, right? Because this is how we live and work, and this is what kids will need to be able to do. They'll need to be able to be in flexible work environments, like you said, collaborating, being on a team, managing a project. You're going to see even young children here managing a project as we turn the corner. So we're going to head into this room. It's based on also Reggio Emilia inspired instruction. Reggio is considered widely one of the best forms of research in the world today for early childhood, and you're going to see that in the environment. It's an environment focused on student artistic creativity. Here we go.
So we're actually going to keep walking through this front part of the classroom. You're going to tell it looks a lot different from the back of the classroom. Here you'll kind of see these co-working spaces like we talked about with Co-Hatch. But as we enter the back of the classroom, you're going to see students working on real projects. In the back half, you're going to see them making choices about the types of things that they do, the learning that they're going to be engaged in. So let's go see what they're up to back here.
So one of the things that's our focus in a Reggio-inspired environment is students building and creating and making, and that's exactly what you see in action here. These students have different prompts they're working on, looks like different forms of houses and architecture, and then having materials to access so they can build and make and create their ideas about what different homes would look like. They're building out of blocks, they're building out of a variety of construction materials, and over here we're going to see some artistic expressions of that same curious project. I see that. Can you tell us what you're working on?
We're working on snake habitats.
They're habitats for who?
For snakes.
Habitats for snakes. Okay. And what are all the things a snake needs in a habitat? We need some food. Looks like Autumn, did you come over to tell us what you're doing?
We're painting what we think a snake habitat looks like.
And what kind of things are you doing with yours? Are you building it or painting it?
Painting it.
Oh, you're painting it. Okay. Thank you for sharing.
Well, we'll keep walking. I'd like to take us to the second grade room, which I believe is the impetus for this inquiry that they're doing. I believe second grade has a whole story about why we're creating snake habitats today. So we'll go talk to second grade and see what we're up to.
Okay. That was so exciting.
I love our K-1 rooms.
Yes. We're
So
glad that
exciting.
you got to see all of that active learning in action. And there's more there than just projects and kids working with art materials. What you're seeing is something the kids were curious about. And then they had some ideas about what that might actually be in the real world. So when they're talking about snake habitats, it's because they're curious. Sure. And that comes from something that, happened to them or something they were introduced to. So
real story. Yeah, real story. Yesterday, the second graders were reading outside on blankets. And this morning, when the teacher was folding the blankets to put away, a really small little snake came crawling out of the blankets this morning. As you can imagine, that was a pretty exciting event for our second graders. So there's been a lot of talk about snakes going on today. And I'm bleeding over, and so now what do we do with the snake? And when we walk into the second grade room, you might see the snake inside a box. Because the students are talking about this real world issue. What do we do with this snake? How do we feed him? How do we take care of him? How long are we going to keep him? We want to make sure he gets back outside. So again, just like you were saying, Dr. Downey, real world, okay?
That connection,
yes.
That's such a key part of what we do here. Rather than creating a quiz and memorizing facts about snakes, or now starting to memorize all the places where snakes live. Instead, what fosters kids' creativity, and again, the research shows this, the research that we study that's backed by Stanford and Harvard Project Zero and IDEO and Henry Ford Institute and the Buck Institute, is that when kids learn through connecting to something they're curious about with what is going on in the real world, they learn at a deeper level and they have longer term memory of those things than that drill and kill test kind of culture that we've created in traditional schools.
Sure, you can imagine students now all day long have been reading about snakes. Clearly, it's carried over into our K-1 classroom, so I know what was happening at recess today. We were talking about the snake. And so now the curiosity has bled over into other classrooms as well. And I think that just illustrates perfectly that students are excited about their learning, so much so that they are using their own time to talk about it.
Right, and go deeper
Yes.
and research and build
Perfect.
and build ideas. So let's go see what's going on with second grade. Yeah. Oh, hello everyone. Hi, how are you today? Hey Mariana, can you tell us what you're working on and what are you guys talking about in class today?
We're talking about our snakes, and we're writing to our parents about it, and that we need supplies.
Oh, that you need supplies. So you're going to be making a request for help?
Yeah,
Oh.
we're gonna give him stuff that he needs.
Oh, okay. We're going to have to move on, but thank you. Thank you all for being willing to share with us. So you just saw another co-hatch for kids. We love talking about that, and we want to share why. Why do we have innovative, flexible learning environments? Why does the space matter? Again, we talked about because it gets kids ready for the way we work in the world, right? The way we work in the future. The other thing that it does is, again, everything that we do is based on research. And we know from the brain research just like when you and I as adults pick a place that helps us be most productive, when kids have that choice and they can pick a place and they understand my job is to be productive, I need to pick a place where I'm comfortable, where I can get the most work done. And for many, many students today, that is not sitting in desks and rows and having to sit in the same desk all day long.
Sure, we're slowly over time developing independence
Right.
with skills, right? I'm going to teach you how to make the appropriate decisions about what works for me, how do I do that, when should I choose those things, because while I'm writing it might look one way, and while I'm doing math it's another, while I'm working in a group it's another. And rather than force kids to sit in chairs all day and never develop those skills for themselves, they're learning how to do those things now.
So exciting. Now we're going to head to some older grades. We're going to visit third and fourth grade. We do blended age groups here. Again, one of the other pieces that's important to us is that we're focused on what kids are ready to learn, not necessarily constraining what they learn by what their age is. And mixed age groupings have the ability to give kids a chance to do that. Whatever you're ready to learn, we want you to learn it when you're ready to learn.
Mixed age groups and flexible age groups, because sometimes those things change depending on what you're learning.
The classes are in transition in between getting ready for their related arts. So next we're going to head to the related arts that go on here at one school. But do want to show you one of the third and fourth grade rooms so you can see how that co-hatch for kids grows up. We know you're in the middle of transitioning, but we have some friends that are visiting us via camera today, people that are touring our school. So I'm wondering if you would be willing to just tell us really quick, what's one of your things that is most important to you about one school?
That we do fun things every day.
Okay. That we do fun things like what?
Like learning about the American Revolution.
Oh, okay. You're liking learning about the American Revolution. All right. Does anybody else want to share something that's important to you about one school?
This is my first time ever being at a new school, and I love it.
Oh, you do? Okay. Tell us like just one little thing. Like what's your favorite part of being here?
I learn new things.
You learn new things. Okay, that's great. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else you want to come and share with me? All right, that was a nice move there. Like that spin move.
One thing I like about one school is it's like I've only been here for about like a year, and this honestly feels like my home. I have nice teachers and more. Like we learn new things. Yeah, have nice friends. We do nice games like snake oil.
Oh, I love playing snake oil. That's awesome.
And yeah.
All right, well, thanks for sharing. We're gonna head to middle school really quickly and see some 5-8 classrooms, so we'll follow you, Miss Mary.
All right, we're going to head straight to our 5th through 8th grade classrooms. They are getting ready to transition also. It's a great time to see everybody. But we're going to stop here in our middle school hallway. We're going to head to Mrs. Danner's room in our humanities. Again, we take a multi-age approach. We also take an approach that humanities is a combination of social studies and like our literacy, reading, writing, and social studies, history, geography, all those things that once again, we're really interested in how these topics intersect. Again, asking students to take real world problems and solve them. So then we got to hear just a little bit from Alejandra about this project. Can you fill us in just a little bit? What are you guys working on?
So we got emphasis points from Miss Thornton, and she gave it to us. You had to pick 2. I think there was 12 emphasis points. Each one had different timelines and spots and histories, and you could make a product, a timeline, a map, anything that consisted of information that ensured that you knew what you were doing. We had a deadline. It was all the way till like next week, I think. And then, so today was the finishing part, and we have to redo it next month.
When you say redo it, tell me a little bit about how you're redoing it. What do you know what to redo? You're using the design thinking cycle, correct? So tell me a little bit about that.
So I would probably do 9 next on October 14th to start as my new emphasis points. I made a map, a 3D map, and a monologue. So I could either do a 3D map, monologue. I can basically do anything that proves that I know what I'm doing. And even if that doesn't work the first time, then I can redo it always and start something new.
So the whole point is you have multiple chances to prove what you know. You're going to show it in lots of different ways, not just answer a test.
Right.
What was she talking about, the Renaissance, right? Like it's not just that and done. You got lots of opportunities. You're going to get feedback, right? So you're going to use the whole design thinking cycle. You were just talking about a product. So you're going to keep getting feedback, revising that work, and then present it again. Yep. Correct? Awesome. Thank you, Zen.
So So in middle school grades, one of the things that you started to see is that we're learning design thinking. We start learning design thinking in about 4th grade. This design cycle process that's used by innovation companies all over the world, like IDEO, again, back to the Stanford D School. We're helping our students learn that design cycle now. So they have skills that even adults don't have, but that adults are learning because that's what they're going to need in the workplace. And Akira's been working with design thinking for a couple years now. She's been really working on this and getting really good at it. So what's one of your favorite design challenges you've ever worked on?
My favorite design challenges, this was like a few years ago, but it was like when we did where we could pick whatever we wanted to do. And me and Alejandra picked Egypt, and we got to, work on it. We got to do whatever we want, and we got to, just present it for a grade. And I like that better because I've been here for like a long time, and I like that way better instead of just doing a test and getting it done. We have multiple tries and we can prove that we know what we're talking about and we know what we're doing.
And one of the things we always talk about with design cycle is that sometimes things don't work out and they fail, and you have to get okay with something fails and you get some feedback and you have to work on it again. I mean, do you have any examples or like memories of that where something really didn't work and you had to work on it again?
So this happened a few weeks ago, but like I didn't do good on the test, and I actually got to feel forward and try again. It took me like 4 tries, but like I still I got to realize what my mistake was, and I got to try again, and I ended up being a good grade.
So yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, thanks for sharing. Well, the next part of our tour, we want to share with you that we have a really vibrant related arts program, and that is related arts classes in K-4 and then electives in middle school, where students have all kinds of choice and even help design the experience with teachers. So right now we're going to see.
Yeah, so for K-4, that's art, music, computer science, social emotional learning, design thinking. They have a whole course to just kind of teach them the basics of design thinking so that they can use them in classes. And then this quarter in electives, because it changes every quarter, we have everything from theater basics to team sports. We have general fitness. We have an art lab. We have all different kinds of things the students are designing based on their own interests. And then they get to decide where they want to go.
Yeah. So as we head on into the art room, one of the things we want to stress is that here in our art program, you're not going to see the traditional, like if you go to a school and you're walking past a bulletin board and there's 20 versions of Van Gogh Starry Night. Everybody's painting the same picture. Everybody's making the same clay turtle. Everybody's, doing the exact same project. Our approach to art is entirely different. This is a studio format where students choose what media they want to work with, what idea do they want to develop, and then our art teacher is using his skills as building a studio environment for them to learn and do mini lessons with kids based on the skills that match the media they're in, and then they become the teachers of each other.
Then they multiply and share their knowledge that they gained either through their own experiential learning or through Mr. B working in his mini clinics. Yes. And then they go teach. And so students become experts on different things. We have students teaching each other Tinkercad. We have students teaching our middle school students animation. They're teaching each other. And oftentimes Mr. B likes to talk about how they outdo him and what he knows, and that's his ultimate goal. Yes. So we'll step in and I'll ask him to come out and talk to you a little bit about how he does his magic.
Yeah, let's do that. Here we go. So this is kindergarten and first grade art, and they are engaged in a lot of different work right now. And as Mr. B is getting ready to work with them, also want to share that you see like some students are working on the board. They're working with using different types of technology to accomplish the idea that they have. Other students are working with markers or 3D models, or they're building with cardboard materials. Hi, Mr. B.
How we doing?
Oh, so excited to talk about art and the adventure of the art room. So
Absolutely.
we'll actually, just to get a little bit.
We can do that.
We'll let you step a little bit in the doorway, and I'll help Miss Mary watch the class. Yeah. Please share, and I promise I'll help watch the room.
So everything I do has to begin with some level of curiosity, some level of, there has to be some kind of enticement that draws the child into the activity. Once that curiosity really gets tapped into, then it becomes exploratory, and based on how deep do you want to really investigate and discover this activity. And then what comes from that is passion. Once they go through the curiosity, they go through the digging deeper, and then they become so ownership, bound with it that ends up being this passionate thing that they can identify themselves with. And that's probably the most powerful part of how art can identify not only someone's strengths, but also identify their interests. And even at very young ages, we have a new kindergartner this year that he loves cars from top and bottom. He loves every piece of the car. And so as long as you put car-related things in front of him, he's gonna really dive into it. But then the challenge is, I want him to kind of step outside that little box and go a little further. So then the question is if he's into cars, maybe he's into mechanics. And if he's into mechanics, then maybe he's into other machines. So it's always got to start with that little bit of tidbit of curiosity to learn about the student. That's really important. And that's really what Dr. Domine is talking about with that creative courage, where there's no guarantee that whatever you go after is going to look beautiful, or if it's going to make an impact, or if it's going to be meaningful to, like, someone may look at it and be like, I have no idea what this is. But to that student, it may be the most important thing they made that day. Just identifying the colors. When you see a little child playing in the sand and they're giggling and laughing, you almost wonder, like, they're having a conversation with this inanimate object that is sand. It's playful and it's fun. And like I said, it's so innocent because they're just doing things and they may not know exactly how to do it, but they're going to keep exploring and keep doing that because they're very interested in it. That's that creative.
And I love that you always say you're an artist in the science world and a science in the art world, and that you fuse all the things we're doing with Makerspace and engineering and 3D printing and Tinkercad and animation and Blender and all these other programs, helping students think about the tools of creativity so much broader than, again, like a typical approach to art, and supporting our Makerspace. And again, we're so grateful to have Mr. B here, has his master's in art from Ohio State, and really works with students in toddlers through 8th grade, that you have background in Reggio Emilia, which is so rare, having that early childhood understanding that empowering art as a form of communication, like you're just talking about, that kids are communicating through art, is really an incredibly exciting fusion, and then helping teachers with their design thinking too.
That's
in the classroom.
That's one of the things I love most, is kind of reinforcing that idea that the art room and the makerspace, it's kind of a mindset. If you really have like if it's just, we can only do this in this spot, it's like, it kind of limits things. So like the idea that like we can go into any classroom and have a maker or an art experience, but it just varies in degrees. This is more of a splash room where we have that liberty to make the messes, right? The beautiful messes. That's what that room is really mostly for. And the makerspace is the more clean and like more precise and prototyping and everything. But all of that stuff happens in every single classroom. And that's how, like, as a scientist in the arts world, artist in the science world, every scientist starts with an observation, that curiosity has a hypothesis, they experiment, and then they have a conclusion. Like, that's our school in a nutshell, is the scientific method. Art is the scientific method. Creativity is the scientific method.
I love it.
And it lives in all these classrooms. And it's like, that's the soul of it. And so, to be one or the other, I'm just like, I love all of it. So
it's great. Well, we're going to let the K1 have you back and save Miss Mary.
Yeah, we'll get her out of it.
Well, and then the second part of Mr. B, right? So we'd also like to show you our makerspace. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's in the makerspace? And as we get there, you'll see that kind of we'll show you the equipment. We'll talk about what it is and why.
Yeah, so again, we're moving from art, visual art, into creating, prototyping, making, doing something with their ideas and building. I often ask my own kids, what did you create today? So a lot of creating, not only in the makerspace, but does happen in the makerspace. So you'll see everything from recyclable 3D materials to, you'll see we do have our 3D printer that students are designing their 3D prints and creating 3D prints.
I love that. I love that. It's like, exactly like Michael was just saying, that, there's so many tools for creativity and producing an idea and bringing an idea to life. And so by having a makerspace, we are giving kids access to those tools, the tools that entrepreneurs use, the tools that inventors use, the tools that startup companies are using to literally design new products, design new ideas, and not just limit them to traditional art media, but helping them understand you can build rapid prototypes of ideas, and you can use things like 3D printers, but you can also use cardboard and, you know, crazy recyclable materials and pipe cleaners and all of those things as well. So yeah, let's go. We'll go peek in there and we'll show you that room as well.
So we've got some making happening.
Yeah, so come on in. You'll see in here we have a laser engraver, a vinyl cutter, in addition to our 3D printers that Miss Mary was just talking about. I'm always curious if there's a student project in the 3D printer. So while you're talking, I'll go look.
Okay. You can also see they're currently working on designs. They've got their prototypes and things up on our boards. They're working on making things. Again, there's all different types of materials here, and materials are always changing. Again, trying to get students to think creatively. If you don't have what you need, what could you do to fix that? Actually, Mr. B likes to give them less access to things sometimes because you have to be more creative with less things.
Right. No, it's a place where design thinking really comes to life. And we can, again, keep stressing for students that you are learning the work skills of the future. You're going to be asked to come up with an idea, bring it to life for people. And a lot of times that could be a storyboard, or it could be literally build a prototype and visibly show me with a 3D model how your idea might work, even if it's built out of cardboard. And our students are doing that at a very young age and then presenting publicly. And so that's the final big piece of being in a design thinking school, is doing exhibitions of your work and showcases of your work. Yeah. And what we love about that, when we have community members and business leaders come and watch the students present their prototypes or their ideas and their research and give feedback to them. Yes. Yeah. And they always say things like, you know, can I hire this student? Or
I wish I had had that.
I wish I had this when I was in school, or I wish my employees could do this.
Yes. Being resilient, being able to take my ideas and I can accept feedback on them and not crumble.
Right. Oh, so important. And not need to be micromanaged, right? I mean, that's another life skill, work skill that our kids are already building stamina in, which is how can I manage a project, stay the course, right? Fight through disappointment when my prototype doesn't work and I have to re-prototype, you know, and I have to do it again. And all of those things, like you were saying a minute ago, they come to life in this space, but not just in this space. Sure. In every single classroom already that you've toured today.
Yeah, this is a resource, a place that you can go.
Resource place.
Students oftentimes come in to get supplies and they'll take them out because the space is so busy. You can imagine before exhibitions or before deadlines, this room gets very busy.
Lots of traffic.
Yes.
When everyone is needing to get into supplies.
Yeah.
Yes. So next we're going to head and peek in the music room and see what's going on in there. And then we'll end with one of our last related arts at K-4. And then we'll end our tour today.
While we walk to the music room, I definitely want to talk about kind of the basis for our program too, is also the fact that we're a Christian school. That looks very different than maybe other Christian schools you've been to or heard of. So I want to talk about what we mean when we say that we're a Christian school. As a Christian school, everything we do is based around what does the Bible say about that? You'll see in every classroom, all of our teachers are Bible teachers, if you will, because we're always going back to biblical truth and biblical foundations rather than just one time of the day. It's stretched throughout the whole day. And as we enter the music room here in a moment, it's a perfect place. We're listening to music. Students are creating their own songs with lyrics based out of Bible verses or lessons that they're learning in classrooms. Yes, we have morning meetings where we're praying and doing Devo. We have chapel once a week where students are learning biblical truths and how to apply them. But I want you to hear me saying it's happening all the time. Every classroom I walk into, we're talking about, you know, there's things on the wall students created about helping them to understand a Bible verse or a Bible story, or when we're having conversations with students, hey, why should I speak to that other student that way?
Right.
We love because he first loved us, right? That's one that we talk about often.
Yeah, and the whole real world connection piece that, we have a great video recorded by Pastor Greg Ford of what do we mean by Christian school. That is, again, this is not I go to a Bible class and get a letter grade and therefore we call ourselves a Christian school, but how do we help you know who Jesus is, what does he say about your life, and what is he calling you to do? And that means connecting to the real world around you. So I love that, right? That it's all day long, our kids are connecting to the real world and then also asking themselves the faith question of, well, what does that mean if we're part of the body of Christ? Or what would his opinion of this be? And what would he ask me to do? What am I called to do, right? So all those things that kids are curious about, if someone's curious about, racism, and then we really are getting into that conversation, we're talking about what is Jesus asking of me during issues of racism going on all around me? And it's so powerful. Again, preparing them to be people, disciples of Christ in the world.
Or just even very basically, I have a problem, I don't know how to solve it, where am I going to turn?
Right.
And every time we're both teaching, modeling, and encouraging students to look at the Bible every time. What did Jesus say about that? I literally have a resource. Let me help you.
Yes, so good.
And it's beautiful when our students do that on their own.
It is. So we're going to peek inside the music room, one of our K-4 classes, see what's going on.
All right, thanks for stepping out to just talk to us really quick. I know you're with second graders, but I wanted to introduce you. This is Parker. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do with kids and your roles in the student support team, how you support kiddos?
Absolutely. So my role here is just as like a counselor. I do a lot of the behavioral intervention as well as like the emotional social work that we do with the kids. So all of our K-4 friends get me once a week to do SEL, which is the social emotional learning. And it allows them to really dive into those big feelings and really allowing them to learn more about emotional intelligence. So learning what empathy is, learning what vulnerability is, how to be kind and respect each other. And then I also, for our middle schoolers, provide an elective, the same elective for them, being just on the intervention team, allowing the students to have a place to come, like a safe space to come and talk if they need to talk, as well as setting up behavior plans for our students who, may need a little extra love and care. So just being of support to them as well.
And oftentimes even providing resources for family members who are interested in, tell me more, how can I get more of this? My students needing other things. So I so appreciate as a parent here as well, that you're always here to help our families and wrap around our families for additional supports that they may need.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's like less about coaching the kid, but sometimes I'm coaching parents too. So being able to support them as well is awesome.
We appreciate everything you do. We'll let you get back to the second graders, but
awesome.
Thanks for being an extra stop on our tour. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for joining us on our tour today. We really
appreciate your time.
We enjoyed walking you around and letting you have a chance to see inside all of the excitement and the learning that goes on here.
Yeah, I hope we could make it come to life for you a little bit. What we do here every day. Sometimes, like you said, it is loud. Sometimes it is messy, but for us, that's real learning.
Right. I mean, we really believe that kids are powerful people, and our calling is to create a state-of-the-art, innovation-based, design thinking, faith-based school that is empowering a generation to be the leaders of tomorrow. And we would love to meet you. There's information on the website. You can come for an in-person tour. We can answer your questions. But thanks for taking time to learn more about One School today.
Have a great day.